My name is Lindsay Sabadosa from the Pioneer Valley Women's March in Northampton, Mass. So the Bowl-a-thon is actually part of the National Abortion Network fundraiser. They do this every year in the month of April. And this Bowl-a-thon in particular benefits the Abortion Rights Fund of Western Massachusetts, which is one of the founding abortion funds in the country. So while the National Fund is having events all over the country, we've put on this one. Our fundraising goal was $5,000, which we've now surpassed. The national network was trying to raise $1 million, which they've also surpassed, so it's been a really exciting month of April. The abortion funds are actually, I'm not sure that a lot of people know what they do. I think they think that they're somehow involved in legislation. They're not. They, on a very practical level, fund abortions. So if you find yourself in a situation where you need to obtain that service and you are financially unable to afford it, you can call your local fund. The Abortion Rights Fund of Western Mass tries to fund abortions primarily in the 4 counties of Western Massachusetts, Berkshire, Franklin, Hampden, and Hampshire. But we also work with other funds in the state. So if someone needed a procedure that's more expensive, that requires them to travel out of state, they would work to make sure that that was covered and accessible. Access is a really huge problem, so having the ability to pick up a phone, call a fund, and get services that you might not be able to afford otherwise is really, really huge. So a person would call the fund, explain their situation generally, how far along they are, where they want to get services, and how much the procedure is going to cost. That changes based on how far along one is, and that's why that question is asked. It gets more expensive the further along a person is in their pregnancy. So, the fund is not affiliated with any particular providers. They basically send the money to the provider, so when the patient goes in, the part of the procedure the fund's agreed to pay for is paid for. Sometimes it's the whole amount, sometimes it's a portion. I do think that this year, because we're seeing a continuous rollback of rights, that people are more excited to participate. So that's interesting and wonderful because it means that more people are going to be able to have access. You never want to be the fund where people are calling and you don't have any money left and you can't help them. Because the option is really just maintaining an unwanted pregnancy or doing something unsafe. There's no other option when you can't afford access. And, not all insurance has to cover abortion. There are issues for people who are maybe transitioning, and so you have a trans man who becomes pregnant, who needs to terminate. His insurance decides that he's a man and therefore no longer gets to have that type of coverage. There are a lot of impediments to access, so having really, until the federal government decides to repeal the Hyde Amendment and pass good laws requiring insurance to cover these procedures, abortion funds are what's going to make sure that people don't have children they don't want. Yeah, I think that everybody should be involved in some way, and maybe abortion is not the issue that is near and dear to everyone's hearts, but you pick your issue, get involved in some small way. No matter what your issue is, reproductive justice is connected to it. So getting involved in the Abortion Rights Fund, if you have the time and the energy, they do ask for a year-long commitment. You can be involved in intake, which means actually answering the phone when people call and helping fund. You could organize a fundraiser, though. You could organize a house party. You could do something, even if it's really tiny. But there are so many great organizations to be involved with. The Abortion Rights Fund of Western Mass is one. Prison Birth Project, which is also local, is another incredible organization that works in reproductive justice. I'm going to forget names of good local organizations, so let's see if I can think of somebody else. I know that there's always Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is much bigger, though, and often very well funded, so it's really nice to work with the smaller groups. And, even if the issue that you really care about is the environment and reproductive justice are connected. So, understanding those intersects, I think you'll want to be involved in the Abortion Rights Fund.